Hello, beautiful unicorns. Yana Kasperczak coming to you live from Ontario of Canada as your certified professional performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach. It has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from the mental prison that you find yourself in and build a life and a business that you're not only proud of but excited to wake up to every single day, and stop pushing the snooze button either on your alarm or on your to-do list or on your self-care and self-love practices or on your personal growth and development, just to name a few, because there's so many more. And this is why we're here today, to help you identify your pain island. So the topic that I have for today is, what is your pain island and why do you stay there? Why do you continue to stay at that pain island? Now, there's such a thing that we all live with, and it is the default program, the unconscious choice of why our life, the way my cat, I don't know, you can probably hear her meowing, trying to find her way up here. Okay, come on, claw the shiznit out of the chair, why don't you, kitty cat? Anyways, now that we've been rudely disrupted or distracted by this fluffy kitty, each and every one of us has a pain island. Every single human being has a pain island, and a pain island is something that causes us discomfort or dis-ease or sadness or sorrow inside of each and every one of us. Now, the other side is called the pleasure island, and that's where everything that we want, everything that is for us, everything that brings us happiness, joy, and makes us feel proud, and where we have a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment, that's on the pleasure island. So my goal has been to help every woman, and that's what I talk about, the mental prison. It's the pain island. My goal has been, ever since I've gone through my own transformative awakening journey and the deep dive into my soul, it has been my journey to help others to do that, because it was so incredibly hard and difficult that it had become something that I really love and enjoy, and especially helping others to identify their own pain points. Many of you know them, but most of you, if not all of you, don't actually know each and every one of them, because there are so many of these pain islands that we have. So when I started this journey, this was my pain island, okay? I had to get a really big piece of paper and put my pain island in here. And this is not even all of it, because I continued to add and I ran out of space of what my pain island was at the time. And here is, I'll share, I don't know if I'll share all of them, but I'll share some of them, and you can share your pain islands as they come up for you, because in all honesty, I want to hear from you, from each and every one of you. What is your pain island, so I can help to understand and help in the way that I can by creating these videos, this kind of content. Let me make sure. Oh my god, it's so loud. I don't know why it becomes so loud sometimes on my computer, but hey, whatever. There. So I have my screen open in case there's somebody on there commenting. I don't miss the comments. So my pain island was empath, sensitive, crybaby, cry easily, or too sensitive, such a crybaby, such a whiny baby. My body failed me, referring to the miscarriage of the twins. Struggling to juggle family, life, house, chores, friends, myself, pets, my ever hungry business and job and career. Struggling to juggle them all. Running late most of the time, which means showing up late, going places late. If I say I'm gonna leave at this time, I don't leave at that time. A lot of, I'm sure we'll get to, yeah, struggling to complete or even start on tasks from my never ending to do list. So, not starting or not completing tasks. I wish I wrote the date of when I wrote this, but I know this was at least 4 years ago at this point. Unworthy, unloved, self-loathing, disconnected from self, from myself and from life. Just felt completely disconnected and isolated and alone and lonely. Never felt good enough. I don't do anything good enough. I'm not enough. I'm unworthy. Anything I do is not good enough. Bad mom, addict, unhealthy addiction tendencies, doing things that were, another way of calling it was I was self-sabotaging in those ways. Imposter, I'm an imposter, fake, fraud, frustrated, tired, exhausted, irritable, pessimistic. Even though naturally most of my life I had been an optimist, I was a total pessimist, especially internally, and that's the side of me that was causing me to feel like a fake and the imposter, that I was trying to be happy and trying to say the right things for everyone and do the right things for everyone, but not really checking with the only person that would appreciate it, and that is myself. Angry at myself for not speaking up or saying what I had been practicing and replaying in my mind, and also that angry that others don't understand me, that no matter what I say, no matter what I do, no one gets me, no one understands me, and angry at myself because I wasn't speaking up, because I was holding everything in, because I was rationalizing and making sense of it to normalize it within myself, but the reality wasn't that. I wasn't happy saying what they had been practicing. So saying what I had been practicing in my mind to someone, but never actually saying it. Holding on to my hurt. Not expressing it to anyone, not saying it, and not mentioning, right? Hence the not speaking up. But holding on to my hurt without processing it and without healing it, just holding on to it as if it's some kind of a trophy, as if it's some kind of a reward, and avoiding some growing experiences and avoiding people. It was actually, this is where I was also lying to myself. I was avoiding most, not some growing experiences. I was avoiding most of the growing experiences, growing opportunities, and most of the people. I was full of fears. Fear was like my best friend that I did not want. How many of you can say that fear feels so familiar and you'd rather stay in that state of fear unconsciously and sometimes consciously because it's familiar, at least you know what to expect, without having to do something to change that. I was overwhelmed, burnt out, unorganized. Even though I'm an organized person, I felt completely unorganized. At least in my head, I was unorganized. Messy. My spaces were messy, and that was also causing me so much anxiety because the brain and the body can't really function with mess and cluttered spaces. Anxious, depressed, felt down, blue, sad, crying every day, napping every day, stressed, full of worries and concern, especially about money. At that time, I had lost my job of 11 and a half years because I put somebody else's needs, wants, and desires and trying to help someone else, and that caused me to lose my job and not them. Did it just get a slap on the wrist? But I ended up losing my job of 11 and a half years because of that, because I put someone else first. And that was one of the biggest and loudest lessons for me that took me some time to learn from, that I got to take care of me and stop prioritizing everyone else, because in the end, I'm the one that's going to get hurt, and nobody is going to care or understand, because they're good, they're safe, right? And they keep living their life. Meantime, mine had to go through turmoil, and that was 2 weeks before we were moving into our brand new house, which was the previous house that we had. And then I had a job that I thought was going to be my dream job, and I was so excited, and I wanted to do that job as long as I can remember. And when I got it, I realized it was a nightmare job. It was not a dream job. And that's when now recently I've started understanding so much more when it comes to how fantasies can actually cause more damage than good when it comes to life, and being cautious with our fantasies, and at the same time not having expectations. So fantasies and expectations, that'll be a different topic that we'll have. So I had a lot of worries and stress when it comes to money, because that job I ended up quitting, and I really that is when everything hit. And then, mind you, when I was at this job for about 3 months, that's when my dog also passed away. The dog that we got for me to help me heal and from after the loss of the twins. So that dog ended up passing away, and that was my 30th birthday. And that was a whole different experience that I've never had, which I'm not going to go into right now. I cared because I wrote down, what will they think of me? What people think of themselves and what I think of myself. I was full of doubt. Had very little to no self-belief or trust in myself and in my abilities. I had no focus, no clarity, scatterbrained. That's what stress, fear, and anxiety does. Adrenaline constantly pumping, fight or flight or freeze, and I was frozen in time. I was terrified of being judged. What will they think of me? What will they say about me? I had lack of action, so I wasn't acting on things. I had no motivation. I had no inspiration. I was exhausted and just wanted to sleep all day long. I wanted this day to be over already. I'm done with this day. Let's go on to the next day. Tomorrow will be better. And tomorrow, if we don't do anything today, how will tomorrow be better? In order for tomorrow to be better, we got to do something today to make tomorrow better. But if I'm escaping today, tomorrow is going to be the same. It's going to be an escape. And that's what I was doing. I was completely escaping. That was my pain island. I was insecure, constantly seeking validation from everyone. Any little validation. And it only lasted for a short period of time. So I was seeking validation, scared to speak up for myself and to speak my heart and my mind, to say what I wanted to say. I would shut down any kind of conflict, any sign of conflict, even a little one. Even if I was just assuming it was conflict, I would shut down. I would black out during most of these conflicts, drawing a blank, unable to understand what the other person was even saying or thinking. I wasn't unable to understand what I was thinking or feeling, except complete fear and terror, completely like fight or flight, like PTSD stage. Often I was in flight or freeze mode with little to no fight. I lost my bite, I lost my bark, I couldn't complete things, many unfinished projects on the go, multi-talented and multi-focused, which is easily distracted, full of empty promises, saying yes to everything, scared to say no. feeling and looking unhealthy. Yeah, I was overweight, and I was achy, and I was moody, and I was crabby. I was unhappy, broken and wounded inner child. Completely, I would also even add probably completely ignored inner child. And I felt like I had shitty friends and relationships because because all those people that I had were not good people. So this kitty cat is always, I was gonna say always in my way, but it's how you look at things. Okay, so let's do this. Pain Island is a metaphor for the state of being when one is stuck in a cycle of discomfort, stress, and dissatisfaction. It represents the emotional and psychological space where individuals feel trapped by their circumstances. They feel trapped by their limiting beliefs and the habitual patterns that cause ongoing pain and struggle. So from this, I would say the overwhelming sense of responsibilities, or just the overwhelming responsibilities, juggling multiple roles, as we all do. We all have so many roles to juggle, and it just comes to a point where we can no longer juggle those things anymore. There was lack of self-care. There was an enormous amount of feelings which was constant, of feeling unappreciated, undervalued, unloved, unseen. Was it true? No. But was it my truth? Yes. Was that the reality? No. Was that my reality? Yes. And that is, here's the part which you guys already know. Our perception and our reality is reality. So even though that wasn't the reality that everybody else was seeing, that was my reality, which means that it was reality. This is what my life was like. Now, I could very easily go back to these ways and thinking and being this way. It's easy to go back to these things. It's harder to change. But once you start changing, why on earth would you want to go back where all that was is torture? Just think of that Pain Island as Torture Island. That's what that was. That was Torture Island. And I was emotionally isolated. Was I really emotionally isolated? Was that the reality that everybody else was seeing? No. But that was my reality. I was emotionally isolated. There was no one who I could talk to. And that's why, going to the friends, shitty friends and relationships, because I couldn't talk to any of my friends. They wouldn't understand. And if you do talk to them, they don't hear it. And until I actually got help, I tried therapist. To me, it just did so much more damage than good, that I ended up going deeper into everything. But what did help me was coaching, hiring a coach, and I went through numerous programs, and none of them helped. None of them really got into the core, into the meat and potatoes. All of them were just like, here, eat a salad. That's gonna fill you up. Those of us who eat salads, it's not gonna fill you up for very long. You need the meat and potatoes. So the law of being was the meat and potatoes for me, and it helped me to see and understand the pain, the torture island. And once I understood it, I didn't want to stay there. Once you see that the grass is not only greener, it's thicker, it's softer, it grows taller on the other side. Why would you want to stay where there is no grass? And I also recognize that I was watering everybody else's lawns. I was watering everybody else's grass and taking care of everybody else's grass, but not my own. And hence the pain, the torture island. I was creating my own reality, and I just didn't know it yet. And until I was able to understand it, there wasn't much I could do. In order for us to change things, we need to see them for what they are. And also see ourselves for who we are at that time. And then change. And that's the hardest part, change. The stressors that I was dealing with, financial stress was one of them. And then managing the animals, taking care of all the animals, taking care of the kids, the house, husband, myself. Oh, forget that. I didn't even have the time and the energy, nor did I even want to do that. And then the friends, the family, everything and everyone else. I felt like I was busy all the time, but I was busy with doing nothing that really mattered. Just pause for a second. And if you're watching a replay, this is where you can push pause and write this question down and then journal a little bit. I want you to look at your life right now. The things that you're doing right now every single day. Every single day that you're doing. You can look at the day and you can look throughout the week. All of those things that you are doing. You can list these things that you're doing so you can see easy of what they are, what you're doing every single day, and then the things that you do throughout the week or maybe throughout the month. All the things that you do that you're responsible for and that you get to do. And then I want you to put them in two different columns in a way of, at the end of my life, will this matter? This, at the end of my life, this will matter. And then the other column, at the end of my life, this will not matter. And put them in the columns and see. And you might be shocked of how many things that you do every single day that won't really matter. Or how many things will matter. And in addition to that, if there's a lot of things, like in the column of the things that you're doing right now, they won't matter, and you want to do things that will matter to you at the end of your life, what would those things be? What would you prefer to do every single day, or once a week, or once a month, that you would say at the end of your life, those things mattered? I did the things that really mattered, that I really lived and enjoyed my life. What would those things be? Because a lot of the things we can't really escape, at least for now. The mundane things that we all gotta do. But one day you might be able to get someone else to do those things for you. And those are the things that you're not even gonna remember at the end of your life. So some of these things like washing dishes and cleaning the house, in reality, they won't matter at the end of our life, but at the same time, they will matter. So some things, they can go in both columns, but you got to be realistic with some things that, yes, they will matter, but they also won't matter. So if they're in both columns, then what can you do about those things? So when it comes to cleaning, maybe there's someone else who can come in and clean for you. Or within your household, you can teach someone else to do that. Hey Laura, how are you doing, beautiful? Laura says, just listening today. Hello, y'all. Hey, listening is the beginning part. So if you want to do this exercise, you can do this exercise afterwards. It's definitely going to be helpful. And here's the reason why. Now let's get into the why we're not, and then we'll get into the pleasure island. Let's talk about why you continue to stay there. Why I continue to stay there. So, number one, I was terrified and petrified of change. like petrified. It felt like if I was going to do something different, I was going to die. It was this constant feeling of the pending doom of change is coming, and I'm terrified and I'm petrified of it. And I was terrified that if I change and I do all this work, that it still was not going to matter. That I was going to lose everything and I wasn't going to have anything. And it just caused me to stay where I was because it was also familiar. There's so much comfort in familiarity, in things being the same. Even if it hurts, at least I know what to expect. And that's why I stayed there. I stayed there for longer than I wanted to, but I stayed there for as long as I needed to, until I was ready to do everything that I needed to do to get to the pleasure island. To not only identify what that pleasure island was, but to get there for each and every one of these things. And the societal expectation, that's another reason why so many women, especially mothers, continue to stay on their pain island, because of the societal expectations of, this is the normal way, this is what you should be doing, this is what the normal mother is, this is what the standard is. Expectations often that pressure women to maintain certain roles, certain responsibilities, discouraging women to move away or deviate from the status quo, to stay exactly with how things are, to not change because everybody else is comfortable with it. And if you start changing, everybody else is going to be uncomfortable with it, right? That's where also the fear comes from as well, that if I change, I'm going to lose everything, I'm going to lose everyone. But you know what? If the friends are shitty, then that's not a loss, that's a gain. If the relationships are shitty, that's not a loss, that's a gain. So my perception was lack of everything. Looking at the glass as half empty, or that there is no water in the glass. And until I started to understand, there is not even a glass. There is no glass. That's the highest level of consciousness, where we start to really see that there is no fear. The fear does not exist. It literally does not exist. Outside of your body, you cannot take fear out and leave it out here and for it to exist on its own. It does not exist. Fear itself is an illusion that our mind has created for us. Fear itself is another form of fantasy. It does not exist. Just like happiness and joy. It's an illusion. It doesn't exist. So what it really comes down to is, if all of these feelings and emotions and essentially experiences are illusions, then wouldn't it also be fair to say that the choice is yours? That you get to choose what kind of illusion you want to live in? Happiness and joy. What would that mean for you? What does that entail? What are you doing every day that is causing you to feel that way? Right? Starting with, my favorite exercise is putting together a beautiful image of a perfect day and a perfect week. What are you doing from the moment that you wake up? You woke up early in the morning. What time did you wake up? What are you doing? After you've done that, what are you doing after? What are you doing after? And you get excited about each and everything that you get to do every single day because you choose it. And what are you doing for each and every one of these minutes of the day? And then in the lunchtime, afternoon, evening, what did you do your whole entire day that you absolutely loved and enjoyed every minute of the day? Good morning, Rebecca. Rebecca says, good morning. How are you doing, beautiful? So, doing the perfect day exercise, draw that picture out for yourself, write it out, speak it out loud. Another reason why women stay where they are and don't change and stay on their pain island or torture island, as I mentioned. So if you didn't watch the beginning, because I know, Rebecca, you're hopping on now, so there was a lot that I was sharing about the pain island and torture island from my own small list. Just a small list that I had here. And this wasn't even the only list that I had. I had a lot more to it, but it's filed. I call it filed away. It's put away with the memorabilia stuff. So you can replay and you can watch it and you can see and share your pain island to help you understand. But another reason why women, especially mothers, don't change and continue to stay on their pain island is the fact that there is no support, lack of support, or shitty support. I know Rebecca says quite a list. I know, right? Like I said, this is not even, this just scratched the surface. And as you hear it, I know you will relate to quite a few of these, if not each and every one of them. And it will help you to understand your pain island and expand on it. And like I always say, in order for us to change, we need to understand what we're even changing. You can't fix a broken bone if you don't know what's broken. You can only assume it's broken and how it's broken, but you try to fix it, and in the end, it might not even get fixed, and you might have to end up re-breaking it. So lack of support, because most women lack the necessary support and support systems to help them in this transitional process that everyone goes through, moving from the pain island to the pleasure island. And it is much harder than moving from one house to another house, because the things in your house you literally see that you're moving, you're understanding them, and some things you choose, oh, I'm not taking that with me, I'm not taking that with me. But from your pain island, a lot of those things you don't see, and until you see them, how can you move? How can you move to the pleasure island? Internalized blocks. There are 4 main blocks that everyone has, and these are the ones that keep us in or on the pain island. And until we understand the depth of where we are with each and every one of these 4 main blocks, not much is going to change. Things will stay the same, and because in order for things to change, they need to be brought to our consciousness, to our conscious awareness, so we can see and understand them, and then say, oh, I didn't realize I had that block, or I didn't realize I had that belief system, and how deeply ingrained that belief system was. So now I can do something about it. The complex of not wanting to endure pain, avoiding pain. I know there's like a phrase for it, of what it's called, but having this fear of, I don't want to deal with pain, the pain of change, because it is going to be the worst thing ever. That's why for me, I described it as the pending doom. It felt like the change was coming, and that it was going to be the end of all, the end of me, the end of everything. And I was petrified. I had to believe that enduring pain and sacrificing my personal happiness is a noble act for the sake of the family. That I was doing everything for the family. I was doing everything for my friends, for acquaintances, for everyone. Like I said, I was watering everybody else's grass, everybody else's lawn, everybody else's gardens, and I was ignoring mine, and mine was dying. But I believed that I was a good girl and a good human and a good mother because I was self-sacrificing myself for everyone. But those are the things, nobody sees our sacrifices. And most people won't even care. They'll just say, okay, well, at least I didn't have to do that. At least I didn't have to sacrifice my time, my energy, or my space. That I got someone else to do it, right? Better you than me. That's how most people would think, right? Even if they might not say it out loud, they might think that. And I'm glad I'm not going through that, right? I'm glad I'm not dealing with that. I'm sure you've heard that as well. I'm sure you've thought that yourself as well. Even the phrase of, wow, somebody else has it worse than me. And you feel better for a little bit. But here's the pitfall with that one. If you compare yourself to the people who are doing worse than you are not going to improve. You're not going to get better. Right? You're going to stay the same. All you're doing in that process is you see what somebody else is going through and you see that they have it much worse, so you're okay. And you will stay the same. It allows you to stay comfortable where you are, just to make you feel better for a little bit. It's like getting a haircut. You feel good for a little bit, and then it grows out like weeds again. You're like, oh, my hair is a mess. I got to go do this again. Or you do, have you ever done the peacock feather kind of colors where they bleach your hair and then they do the different colors? I had to do that. I had to do a hidden one because at the bank I couldn't have bright hair color, whereas I think things are quite different now. So I had the hidden peacock colors and I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I would just go with my hair and show it, but it only lasted for about a week. After a week, which is after one wash, it was like a tortured peacock where its feathers were ruffled. It wasn't so bright anymore. And after the second wash, a lot of the color was already gone. It's kind of like that, where it lasts for a little bit. You feel good for a little bit, but then you go back to the pain island and you stay there. And then also the cultural conditioning. This is another big reason why most women end up staying on their pain island, because they're used to it. This is a normal way of living and being. All mothers, they sacrifice themselves, they sacrifice their time, their energy, their efforts. They make their life all about their children. But not every mother is meant to be that way. Some mothers, they're meant to be just a mother, because to them, that is what they dream of. That is all they wanted. That is like their dream job and dream life. How many women can you say are that way? I have met 2 women that were that way in my whole entire life. 2 women. Whereas the rest of them, they were quite similar like me. I'm not just a mother. I'm so much more than just a mother. Yes, I'm a great mother. Yes, I do everything that I can for my children, but that's not all that I am. I'm so much more. I want to be so much more. I want to achieve so much more. I have my own dreams and desires and wants and needs. I'm not that kind of person who saw my existence as a dream existence, taking care of kids day in and day out. Some women, yes, but majority, no. And there are some men who, to them, that's their dream life, dream existence. It's not just limited to women, whereas the majority, no. So whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, whatever you're dealing with, normalize it to the best of your ability. And then seek help. Seek someone to help you in understanding your roots. And then change that help once in a while. Don't just stick with one, because you will also become like a norm. But by seeking other help, you get to grow in a different way. Because with each person that you seek and get help from, you're in some ways, or in many ways, you might be limited to how you can grow with each and every individual. But that's not to say that you're not. It depends on the person, because some people, they continue to grow and change and learn new things all the time. Constantly, they go to special events to learn more and more and more, so that way they can help and create new systems, new programs, new plans, new journeys for everyone to go on, to help in different ways. But majority of people is too comfortable to grow. They're good where they are. They're an expert at what they do. But even as an expert, they can be outdated and not spend time learning and personally developing, personally growing and developing themselves. So here are a few steps. I feel like the Pleasure Island is really self-explanatory. Now, as you can see on my Pleasure Island, there was a lot more writing because it's a little bit more detailed. I didn't even want to go in much detail. I did end up going in much detail with all of them, but I was in my journal, just going in depth of what it was. But you don't want to spend too much time on your pain island. You really don't, because what happens is the more you focus in and stay in that space and in that energy, the higher the chances of you staying there for longer and then bringing those things into your life. So you want to stay here for a little bit. I recommend 15 minutes tops. You can do 15 minutes every day, where you spend 15 minutes identifying your pain island, journal about it, write about it, understand it, and then you want to spend more time on the Pleasure Island. Right after the pain island, you're going to the Pleasure Island. So this was actually an exercise that I did, and I've done this exercise with a lot of my clients, where, just with the first one, empath, sensitive, cry easy, cry baby, cry all the time. I am healed and centered. I am a healed and centered empath. And guess what? I am living on my Pleasure Island. Do I visit my pain island? Once in a while. But I don't get off the boat. I visit it, I get to the dock, but I don't park the boat and I don't get off the boat. I say, hello everyone. How are we doing today? We're doing fantastic, aren't we? Okay, so which one of you is the loudest today? That's the pain coming through. Okay, great. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for raising your hand and telling me you're here. Now, I will go to my island, which is the Pleasure Island, and we will deal with you from there. You can't fix the problem with the same things that have caused it, and in the same place where things have happened. You can't fix it. You gotta step away from it. Hence the Pleasure Island. You go there and then you identify, now spend time with each and every pain island experience, feeling and emotion and thoughts that are coming up for you, of what is the Pleasure Island, what is the opposite of that, what would you prefer instead of that pain, instead of that torture. Maybe it should be called Torture Island, because that's what we really do in that island. We torture ourselves with it. And with the second one, my body failed me, referring to the miscarriage. I understood it was not my fault. I am grateful for all the lessons the loss has taught me. And in the journaling, I spend more time understanding and going in deeper into the gratitude of actually what I was grateful for. Because just saying I'm grateful for it, that, I'm sorry, but that means shit. That doesn't mean anything. It's like someone saying, how do you feel? I'm good. That's not really a response. And more often than not, when someone says, I feel good, I'm good, they're not. So what are you actually grateful for? And using feelings and emotions that you are experiencing in that time. and what are the lessons that you have learned. And this is where for each lesson I wrote down why I was also grateful for that lesson that I've learned. And I was also mentioning being grateful for the pain itself, for the suffering itself, and how difficult it was. But I was grateful because I knew it was building me up. But in order for me to be built up, I needed to be broken down. I need to be shattered to my core so I can rebuild myself and rebuild myself stronger in all of the broken places. That even a tornado comes and it cannot sweep me up because I'm rebuilt so heavy that I stay grounded. With some of the heaviest elements that we can find on Earth, or maybe not on Earth, right? We're not limited to just Earth. So here are some of the steps that you can take to get to that pleasure island, to that joy island for you. You want to acknowledge the pain. Ignoring it is not going to make it go away. I want you to think of an experience that you've had with another human being, because usually it's easier that way, or it could be maybe even with an animal, but an experience of someone that just wouldn't go away. Just wouldn't go away. You would ignore them, you would avoid them, but they just would not go away. They would continue showing up and annoying you and pestering you and following you everywhere. They just wouldn't go away. That's what happens with pain. If you ignore pain, it will be just like that persistent thing, person, animal that just would not leave you alone, and you just want to be left alone. Or maybe it could be your kids, when you just needed a minute alone and stay in the toilet by yourself without anyone bugging you, without just 5 minutes to breathe and be alone, and you were just not left alone. There would be either a knock on the door or fingers coming from underneath the bathroom. It's cute and adorable, yes, but you needed to be left alone, right? And it says more about you than about the other person, by the way, or about the animal. And you get to understand yourself in the process. But the goal is not to ignore your pain. Ignoring your pain island, you will just end up staying there. So recognize and accept that you are on the pain island or on the torture island. Unconsciously. Even if you still kind of stay there, that it is the unconscious default program that you are currently running on Windows 1 that you're running on, that causes you to stay there. Acknowledgement is the first step toward change. You can't ignore it, you can't avoid it. You got to acknowledge it, you got to own it, just like an addict. At this point, you can even, when I was mentioning addiction, one of the addictions was to feeling bad. I started to recognize that that was an addiction, to feeling down, to feeling sad. Even anxiety was becoming an addiction as well, because I was familiar, I was comfortable. It was in a way an escape. I didn't have to do anything. I got to get away from completing my tasks, my chores, my goals, my dreams, all of these things. It was an escape. It was an addiction. And then the second thing that you can do to help you get off this pain island is seek support, help, reach out to supportive friends or family or a professional. And there's many different types of professionals. You can figure out which one suits you best. And those people who can help to provide some kind of guidance and encouragement for you as well. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to make yourself a priority. You want to start watering your own garden, your own lawn, and not everybody else's. So you want to prioritize yourself, your self-care, your well-being, your self-love. Implement some small, consistent self-care practices every single day that nourish your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit, your existence. So you want to do that. You want to acknowledge and validate yourself every single day. Maybe you can do even mirror exercises where you're talking to yourself in the mirror. Let me take a peek at what the comments I see that came through. Yes, that feeling of rebuilding can look like one foot in front of the other, one breath at a time. Yeah, and it's actually meant to be that way. If we look too far, we will get anxious. If we stop, we will get anxious. And we will feel stressed and overwhelmed. Sometimes when we feel stressed and overwhelmed, it's actually from lack of action, from lack of doing anything. Yeah. Also from doing too much, but also from not doing anything. And knowing that we can do better. We're just sabotaging ourselves or procrastinating or avoiding. That one of our blocks is literally blocking us. And then Rebecca Charlotte just literally just badgered into the restroom. No lock in the bedroom, restroom. Makes me feel resentment. See? And we love our kids very dearly. But we are humans. We need some time alone. We need some of that privacy. We need some of that quiet. We need some of a minute or a few minutes to ourselves without anyone, to just hear ourselves. And that's another reason why so many find themselves on the pain island, because they haven't even had time for themselves at all, because they were busy with life, taking care of everything and everyone, and doing and doing and doing and going and going and going, that the doing and the going got tough. And they were also playing a character, playing a role of perfect everything. And in the end, the body got tired and exhausted playing a role instead of being your true self. So prioritizing self-care. The fourth one, that would be setting boundaries. You want to set boundaries, and you want to learn to say no. You want to learn to say no, because too many of you are probably saying yes to everything and taking care of everything and everyone and watering everybody else's grass. You want to learn to say no. Where were boundaries? So learn to say no and set healthy boundaries to protect your time and to protect your energy. And this one is best done with help, because you can use the other person as a sounding board to help you hear yourself and see yourself in the ways that you can't do yourself. And that is challenging your limiting beliefs. Identify and challenge those beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, that have been keeping you hostage on this island, that have chained you down to this island, and start replacing them with empowering thoughts. With what would you rather have or do instead? Creating a vision. That's why when I do the pain and the pleasure island exercise, one of the things that I advise doing is writing your pleasure island or journaling or both in the I am present tense kind of approach, as if you are already there. So that allows you to visualize it, to create a vision, to envision what Joy Island actually looks like for you, what it sounds like for you, what it feels like for you. And the next one is you want to start taking action on everything that will help you to get to that, everything that you have identified and put on the plan for you to get to that pleasure island, and start taking action on it. And when you start taking action, take small actions that are easily achievable and that will move you towards your vision, towards your goal, towards what your pleasure island is, and you want to celebrate every progress, no matter how big or small it is. The last thing I would say is actually maybe two last ones. You want to, the phrase comes to mind is done is better than perfect. We're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for completion. Now, with this exercise, one of the things that I heard from every single woman was, I need a week to do this because I wanted to be perfect so I can put it on the wall, so I can remind myself. Well, number one, you don't necessarily want the reminders, because even if you're not actually looking at it, by having it around you, it's going to remind you, and it can continue to replay that story and keep you in that space or in that timeline. So if anything, you want to have good and positive reminders around you. But just get it done. Whatever it is that you're doing, just get it done. If you need to do it again, great. The goal is not here to do it once and get it over with and that's it. The goal here is to do it as many times as you need to until you finally got it. When it comes to you getting to the pleasure island, you know how many times you will find yourself on the pleasure island, and then before you know it, you won't even notice it, you will be back on your torture island? It happens seamlessly. Many, many, many times. That is the joys of life and the journey of life, and that is the joy of spiritual awakening itself, where you will find yourself yo-yoing back and forth. And until you have done enough with all the yo-yoing for each and every yo-yo that you get pulled back from, you won't get to stay at the pleasure island. And like I said, once in a while you still get to visit the pain, the torture island, because there are still more lessons and more things you got to learn, but then you get to go back. So learning to accept that perfection is another illusion that you yourself have created in your own mind. It's an invisible standard that you, or an invisible expectation that you have created in your own mind that does not exist outside of you. Yes, there might be other people that have similar expectations, similar idea what perfection or perfect would be, but you get to choose what it will be. And if you don't like it, change it. If it's too high, you can lower it so you can achieve it, and then next time you can raise it up. You're not meant to be perfect at everything you do or everything that you try, especially not the first time. Maybe not the first 10 or even 100 times, but keep trying, keep going, and you will get there. Now, the last one would be investing in personal growth and in personal development. Engage in activities and learning that foster personal development and self-awareness. Invest in programs. I have invested in, I can't even tell you how many programs, and I think at this point 6 coaches in total that I had invested in, and I continue working with coaches. So programs, books, events, workshops, different places I have gone to better myself, to grow myself. But it took me time. It took me time to understand and see the value of investing in myself versus investing in junk or decorations around the house or things for the kids that they're not even going to care for in a day or two, or maybe even in just a couple of minutes, because maybe they'd rather play with the box. So it took me a little bit to start to reflect on where the money was going versus where would I rather spend the money as well, which really was when I was going through understanding my money story, and then working on my money story to get to where I am now, and I continue to work on my money story as well. In ways that are just, no matter what work we're doing, is going to be for the better. But as long as we're doing the work, as long as we're moving forward, the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to actually try. You know how many people won't even try, won't even attempt to better themselves because they don't see the value in it, they don't understand it. Meanwhile, you do. That's why you're here. They don't, at some level, they might not feel like they're worth it. Or what's even worse is that they think that they're perfect. And those are the ones that probably needed the most. Actually, those are the ones that needed the most, actually. Every single person will benefit from personal growth and personal development by investing in themselves, in their own growth and evolution. And there's different types of investments. There's financial investment. There is their energetic investment. There is time investment. I think there are a couple of other ones, but right now, or maybe this is just the three. If you can think of any other investments, of what investment would mean, please share with me. So let me quickly take a look if there's, Rebecca says, yep, addicted to drama. That's another addiction. That there are people who are addicted to drama. There are people who are addicted to negativity. There are people who are addicted to energetically draining other people. And they don't even realize it. There's addiction to even gardening. I mean, the list of addictions can go on and on and on, but not all addictions are bad. Some addictions are good, but then again, are any addictions good? Because by definition, addiction is considered to be bad. So, finding a balance within the addiction itself. Let me see. Any other comments? Emotional investment. Yeah, definitely emotional investment for sure. And yeah, I can't think of any other ones. That was a good one. If you think of any other ones, please feel free to share. I can't even think at this point. I am thirsty and I didn't bring water down. I was in a rush to come down to make sure I wasn't too late. And it's time to eat for me. So I'm starting to feel hungry and distracted. Laura says, thank you so much, Yana Kasperczak. Hope everyone has a blessed day. You are very welcome, Laura. And Laura, you know me so well. This is a perfect way to say thank you, everybody, for being on here with me. Rebecca, Laura, I saw Bethany hopped on as well. So thank you, everybody, for being on here with me on live. And thank you for all that are watching on the replay as well. Welcome to all the new members. And say hello. Hello to all the silent watchers as well. Your silence is loud. Have you heard that one before? I've heard that one before, because silence can be so loud. It can be louder than speaking. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why when I went through my silent time, where I just kept everything to myself and not sharing what I was dealing with, what I was going through internally, that was louder than me speaking. Because then when I finally spoke, it was actually heard. And Rebecca says, memory investment in what to learn and absorb. Yeah, that space, the memory capacity, and also the investment of, it's like renting space in the attic in your mind of what you're going to put in there, and then which means some of these things are going to be leaving. There's some of the memories that you might forget, or they'll be rewritten with new memories. So thank you everybody, and until we see each other next time, whether it's either going to be next Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time-ish on another one of these live Get Your Shit Together weekly live guidance with myself, Yana Kasperczak. Or maybe we shall see each other on Monday at 11:30-ish for a card reading in this group, Heal the Unicorn, Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women. Until we see each other next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being on here. And as I go to push, my slow connection seems to pop up, even though it's not really that slow. Okay, bye, everybody.